Thank you very much for inviting me to this year's Public Economics Conference. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you. I hope you had a lovely tea break that we call a coffee break in Estonia. But yes, so I'm going to share our relatively unique story of almost full digitalization of Estonia. I'm a digital transformation advisor at the Briefing Center in Estonia. We welcome a lot of delegates from across the world who come to visit us physically and to learn from the Estonian experience. And we're usually the first stop on their journey around the different companies who have actually helped build the digital society that Estonia is today. So to give you a little bit of an overview of context and background to how Estonia, such a small country in the middle of nowhere for as far as most people are concerned, how we went digital, how we decided to do so, and how we managed to be quite successful. So we are located in Northern Europe. We prefer to call it the Northern Europe. However, we are a post-Soviet country. So that comes with a legacy that we wanted to address and change. There were some things in the 1990s when we regained independence that we could change, some things that we couldn't. And let me just give you a brief overview of what we had to deal with. So our population is tiny. We are a country of 1.3 million people. This is not something we have been able to improve since the 1990s. Our population is declining, as is almost everywhere in the world. And regardless of that small population, our country is relatively big. For us, we are a very sparsely populated country. We inherited a broken government, a very corrupt government when we regained independence. And digitalization has helped us battle corruption. So we've always strived to overcome the difficulties that we had. We've always wanted to join the Scandinavian club. These days, we are proudly called the New Nordics. We accept that. We've always wanted to create a welfare state and provide high-level services to our citizens. But we couldn't really, because with population this size and a budget of 130 million for the entire country in 1991, we didn't have the people, we didn't have the money and the resources to provide government services to the people scattered all over Estonia. We are actually over 50% forest. A village in our terms is 3 houses in the middle of nowhere, 3 kilometers apart from one another. It's a village for us. So that was a challenge indeed. And we were blessed at the time to have a very digital-minded leadership. Looking back, we can call it this. Those were young people who weren't afraid to make sometimes politically suicidal decisions. We realized that our history and our path, something that we started doing over 30 years ago, is not exactly replicable. Every country is different. You have your own challenges and your own advantages. It's not a copy-paste solution, but it's a hell of a good story. Now, we got lucky with all our challenges. We did get lucky. You have to succeed. Since the Soviet Union was making all of these countries who were part of it specialize in different industries, manufacturing, whatnot, Tallinn, or the capital of Estonia, was the home of a cybernetics institute since the 1960s. And that allowed us to benefit from the existing know-how that we had in the country when we started thinking about going digital. So that's a bit of a background, not too long of a history lesson, but what can you do in Estonia digitally these days? Well, pretty much everything. There's only one service that hasn't been digitalized. We don't quite care that it hasn't yet. We are promised that it will be by the end of this year. I don't know if you have answered this question, so I wonder if you can guess what is the one service that hasn't been digitalized in Estonia? I'm trying to follow the Slido as I go along. Something for you to ponder on. But to be honest, government services is not something that usually has a significant impact on the life of citizens. If you open up your phone and look at the apps that you have there, you are most likely going to find private sector apps. Those are the apps that make your life easier. They make it faster and more convenient. So when we embarked on our digitalization journey, it was actually the private sector companies who were quick to uptake the decisions that the government was making. So yes, these days, almost 100% of banking transactions are done online, but I don't know if that is something that can actually surprise any of you. What may be an interesting fact is that because of digitalization and how our government is set up, declaring taxes in Estonia only takes 3 minutes officially. It actually takes less than that. I'm going to go over the technical side of things, but the reason it takes so little for most private citizens to declare their taxes is because the tax declaration is pre-filled. We decided not to play the hide and seek game in Estonia and pretend that the government doesn't collect data on their citizens. It is quite obvious that my tax board knows where I'm working and how much I'm making. Only they know that, but my employee, when they registered me as their employee, this official data is stored in the tax board. And so is any social benefits, any other money that I receive from the government. So we reversed the roles where a government once a year presents a citizen with a blank page and asks them to fill it. In Estonia, citizens own data, their own data, and we ask the government to report to us. And this is a very good starting point. So on the 15th of February, when the tax declaration season starts, Estonians rush to the tax board website. We crash it very often because it is just a very fun activity. You mostly get money back. So Estonians are very eager to declare their taxes. Usually you just scan the information that the government has on you. You may confirm that it's correct. You may add via a few clicks information on your private investments. That also literally takes a few clicks. It's all automated. I just need to log on to my into my bank and send my private investments report. Same thing goes for the any withdrawals that I can make because of my loan payments. So all of that is sent automatically to the tax board, and within a few days, we get the money back. Now, why am I talking about this for so long? Because it's a very good illustration. The point is, when we gradually digitalized all of our services, government services, of course, we managed to save quite a lot of time and quite a lot of money. 2% of GDP is saved thanks to the usage of digital signature. We almost never sign documents using pen and paper. Well, we have an online login to do so, and you never have to go anywhere physically. That helped to free a lot of people who were working in the government sector and basically doing the paper pushing. We are not enough people. 1.3 million people, we cannot waste any talent. So yes, we lost some of the basic and boring government jobs, but we free the people to find their calling in the private sector, become entrepreneurs, spend their time more productively. No one really wants to push paper in our experience. So these are just a few examples of what life is like in Estonia. Now, this may seem like I'm talking about something quite unrealistic. I hope not, but still. So with so many digital services seamlessly integrated into our daily lives, we actually barely notice the government. I talk about it all the time to the delegates who come to visit the center, but in my daily life, I never think about the government. Everything is automated. The government doesn't become obsolete because the citizens are not forced to think about how to get a paper or a signature or how to make to find time to visit an office. It's like the best manager is the invisible one. It's kind of like that with the government. It's an invisible hand that whose goal is to make its citizens' lives as good as possible. When we embarked on our digitalization journey, yes, we had some of the IT talent present in Estonia. Obviously, that was a good start, but we couldn't start digitalizing services immediately. We had to, in a country with no internet in the 1990s, we were not a special nation. We barely had access to phones. People had absolutely no money to buy personal computers. We were not in any way exposed to digitalization in our daily lives. So the government had to actually start with mass digital literacy trainings. They had to create a legal framework that would allow for the later introduction of digital services. This took quite a bit of time until we could move on to the framework and then the actual provision of the services. And it wasn't as smooth as I may be making it sound like. People were not happy. People didn't understand. In our journey over the 30-year period, we have discovered things that are essential for a functional digital society. As I mentioned, this is not a copy-paste solution, but it is something that you might consider when thinking about going digital. So I mentioned already that the government is here to make our lives better. So all of the services that are created for Estonians are citizen-centric. The idea is to imagine a service, to see a service, not from a bureaucratic, official kind of side, but to look at it from a person's perspective. So if you take marriage, for example, for a government official, it's a very complicated process involving a lot of steps, a lot of paper, or a lot of declarations, checking, and so on. For a person, it is a day when you put on your best clothes and walk down the aisle with your loved one in the presence of family. How can we make government services look more like what the person wants to see? A once-only principle is actually the reason our information exchange and digital provision is so quick. It's almost instant. We don't duplicate data needlessly. We have created laws that assign specific government authorities with the collection of unique data about a citizen that they do not duplicate, but that they have to exchange using our information exchange layer, X-Road, that I will talk about later. So digital-minded leadership is absolutely necessary because funding comes from above. Throughout the over 30-year history, a lot of governments have changed. But this decision that was made in the early 1990s to go digital, to continue providing support and training for the people, this has remained the same. You cannot, in our opinion, have governments go back and forth on this decision to go digital. If you embark on this journey, you stay on it. Of course, internet is absolutely necessary. If you want to reach people in remote areas, internet is the only way. These days, Estonia has very good internet coverage. It's about 95 to 98% 4G. So it's fast speed. It's somewhat expensive. A lot of people complain, but it is quite reliable. My computer right now, for example, is operating on Wi-Fi, and I was told my connection was pretty good. I'm sitting in a random office. And one important concept, in our opinion, also is that individuals own their data. I already mentioned that government reports to us, and I have the ability to ask questions if something is suspicious or not quite to my liking. One very important concept, in our opinion, is that you cannot do it alone. In a country of 1.3 million people, it's quite unfathomable that we would have the talent needed to build a digital society, something that hasn't been done before. So we are complete trailblazers. There's no one to learn from. And then we would have the required talent all at government level. That's unimaginable. So we have been doing this as a society, as a team thing. We collaborate. The public sector collaborates heavily with the private sector, who has actually built most of our platforms and most of the digital solutions that we as a society now use. This is a major export category for Estonia, because we don't have any natural resources, we don't have any people, we don't have anything really. We have found something that we could help the world with. So we are exporting our digital services to the world. But again, this was done by the private sector and in collaboration with experts, with academia. I've mentioned that. And it's not like you build a digital society and then think about how to make it secure. You don't provide your citizens with hundreds of digital services only then to think how to address cybersecurity. This has been something that we have been doing from early on. And I will talk about the 3 pillars that are necessary for a functional digital society. I will touch upon confidentiality, integrity, and availability, because the CIA triad is something that will make the information exchange fast, smooth, and almost unnoticeable. So in our opinion, it is absolutely necessary to find a safe and reliable way to identify your people online. Every Estonian has a digital twin. It's in no particular place in any specific area, but it's a collection of data that the government has on me. And in order for me to access services online, I have to prove that I'm me. So Estonia is a rare example where an ID, an electronic ID, is compulsory. We didn't leave our people a choice, and they were not happy about that. Because when we came out with an electronic ID in 2002, it was an expensive, useless piece of plastic, and yet you had to have it. A government gave you a number and promised that you would one day benefit greatly from remembering it. Well, these days, there are quite a lot of ways for us to log in, to go online, and to prove our identity. So this digital signature that you saw on one of the first slides that helps us save 2% of GDP annually, we can now log in using a mobile application, Smart ID, which is a very popular way to log in. Over 50% of people use it. I prefer mobile ID for no particular reason. I actually have to pay for it, but it's not an app-based solution. It's a SIM card that I get from my telco company installed into my smartphone, and it's not in any way connected to the internet. So these days, the ID card has transformed from a useless piece of plastic to a loyalty card, to a travel document, to a way for me to get my electronic prescriptions, to prove my right to drive. It is a very useless document. What we're trying to achieve with this digitalization is actually seamless integration of services into daily lives that are proactive in nature. We keep thinking about how to improve our citizens' lives without them actually noticing it. I want to show you what our digital services actually look like. And I will do that in just a second. The one thing I would like to show you first is what makes us so sure that our data is secure. Once I log in, how do I know that that my data is not going to be tampered with, that I can actually trust my government, and that the services are going to be reliable? The second pillar, you may remember from a previous slide, the X road, it can be any type of exchange layer. But what makes it unique is that every government service, every private sector service, they can use any type of software that they'd like on their in their company, but it has to be compatible with X-Road, because X-Road is how we allow for how we protect our data and create a spider's web of data that doesn't allow a single point of failure. Let me illustrate. So this is, I hope you can see. Yes, you can. So this is X-Road. Estonia is not the only company, sorry, not the only country using X-Road to exchange data between private and public companies and between citizens. But what it looks like on the back end is quite interesting. So this is what Estonian digital society looks like on the back end. We accidentally ended up with this very secure, decentralized system of storing data. To be honest, when we started the journey in the 1990s, we simply did not have the resources to build a data center and to store all the information safely in one place. So we told the government authorities, we told private companies that you create you hold your data, you store it, and then we're going to build a system for us to just exchange data, because there was simply no other way to do it. Later on, we found out that this is actually this is how you keep your data safe. Just a second. So when I, right now, log into this interface, it's a public Estonian website, Eesti.ee, which is actually just estonia.ee in Estonian. This website is the go-to place when a citizen wants to learn what services they can use or what authorities they have to go to if they have an issue that needs resolving. We don't expect people in Estonia or citizens, residents, to know exactly where they need to go. That's too much trouble. This is something that you probably learned from your mother and your grandmother, and this takes a lot of time to navigate the social structure and the government authorities. It's quite a difficult thing. So we don't want people thinking about this too much. We have a website that has collected a lot of data about the things that are available to Estonian citizens. To get access to it, you actually need to log in. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use, this is a very standard thing that you see on pretty much any government website. They look the same. You are expected to do the same thing. You choose a way to identify yourself. So ID card is plugged directly into your computer, mobile ID, which I'm going to use, Smart ID app, an app solution that allows you to go through the two-factor authentication, or a European card that I haven't talked about yet. So we use one number to log into any digital services. Remember the electronic identification or the plastic card that it used to be at first? This is not a secret number. It is actually compiled of your date of birth and a gender assigned at birth. And there's only 4 unique numbers, so it's very easy to remember. So I put in this number, and I put in my phone number. Please don't call me. And then I get a notification on my phone asking me if I see the same number, 3656. I say, yes, I do. And then I enter the only secret thing that I'm not going to tell you, my PIN code. So it's not 1234. When I enter PIN 1, this is how I tell the service that Petra Holm is logging in. So I'm sort of knocking at the door. Have a look at this. Did you notice that revolving circle? This is this website aggregating data from this. So whatever it needs to display, it doesn't host it. It doesn't have it. But when I log in, it collects it for me and displays in a readable manner. So my name, personal identification number, population register, link in case I want to change my address, ID card number details, passport. If I want to change my passport, there's a link there. So it's convenient. You don't need to know what to do. It's provided for you. Healthcare and prescriptions, certificates. I can see when my government paid for my sick leave, for example. If I got any benefits, if I own any vehicles, if I've signed any notarial documents lately, I've sold part of my business. So all of this trail of documents is digital. I don't need to store it anywhere. It's right here. When I log in, I have easy access to it. But what's more interesting about this is the way this page is set up. Remember, I mentioned many times that we don't expect our citizens to have a master's degree in navigating government services. So I don't know how it is organized in your country, in South Africa, or what you have been exposed to. But the way we have decided to address this is organize it according to topics. very clear, understandable topics. You don't need to know which registry you need to address or which government body you have to go to if you have a problem. So it's easy to find. For example, family. You're probably going to be excited to see that under the category of family, you will also find pets. It's really cute in my opinion, but it makes sense, doesn't it? So this is the way to, I guess, address government services from the perspective of a citizen. Let me show you what proactive government services looks like. So having a baby. Let's take this example of having a baby. This is one of the proactive government services that we have managed to sort of provide. It's an ongoing process. It's what we're striving for. But the idea behind proactive service is actually very simple. There's a social contract. There's an understanding between a citizen and a government. I pay taxes, you take care of me, right? There's also an understanding in Estonia, according to law, if you have a baby, you get certain benefits. Now, in the olden days, you were required to request these benefits. And we thought, why? Why make this so difficult for people? Why risk some people not applying for benefits in case they don't know that they have the right to them? So if these benefits do not depend on your level of education, if they do not depend on how well you can use the computer, then this should be automatic. So let's imagine that I am having a baby. Now, what this looks like is starting from this date, when the pregnancy is detected, then you have automatic access to certain benefits or additional healthcare. It's automatic. You don't have to apply for it. You get notified over email. Especially when the child is born, you get an email saying, congratulations on your new baby. Is this the bank account you would like to receive your benefits at? That's it. We try to make it as simple as possible because all the people have the right to benefit from these services. Let me go back to my presentation. I am a little bit confused about how much time I've got.
I think we pretty much slightly over. I'm not sure if you'd still want to take a few questions. Yeah. I'm not sure if you want to take a few questions.
Yes, I would love to take a few questions.
All right, but you want to wrap up quickly and then we can invite questions in 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yes, well, I am so sorry that I wasn't able to cover everything that I wanted, but I would like to leave you with one slide that will give you my last slide. That I haven't covered security, education. Oh, okay, that's a bit difficult. Justice, I'm sorry. The business environment. Where is it? Oh my God.
Take it easy. It's okay. We're waiting for you.
Yeah, when I do it
yeah.
here locally, and I can interact with people, it's a lot easier to navigate. And I over prepared for this presentation. Lovely. I usually can just pick the right slide from my deck. There we go. Slide number 81, I guess. So it's feedback, but it's not just feedback. This QR code actually will take you to a website where you can find some of the slides that I showed you, but actually a lot more, fact sheets and everything, and a lot of information in the notes if you want to learn more about the digitalization journey in Estonia.
All right, that was our colleague from Estonia. What a way to have a last presentation. Interesting, wasn't it? Very interesting. Some people were angry that I came to disturb. I could say, like, stop it now. I'm paid on time, so my boss will fire me if I don't get things done on time. Thank you so much for that. Was a beautiful presentation. But let's invite a few questions and get any inputs as well as contributions and questions, of course. And I'd like us to see if we do have a few online. The online audience has been saying we don't get a chance to answer or to ask questions. So I'm gonna go ahead and check if we do have. Justin Fisache is asking you if do you have any mechanism to allow researchers and policymakers to analyze joint up identity records. So he's asking, do you have any mechanism to allow researchers and policymakers to analyze joined up identity records? That's coming from Justin Vesachi, there online. I don't see any further questions here on the platform.
I don't actually know what's a joint up identity record. We have a way of establishing whether a record is correct or not. So we use KSI blockchain, timestamping, mechanism, so that at any point of time, we know whether the information that was exchanged via X road is correct. And if it's not, then we will know who changed it at what time, and we'll probably find out for what reason. So I will need, I guess, a little bit of clarification to understand what that means.
All right, they'll provide clarity. In the meantime, we do have Akho Ludwe Regala or Regala and asking, in digitization public-private partnerships in Estonia, what is the role of government and that of the private sector? In digitization public-private partnerships in Estonia, what is the role of government and that of the private sector? And the Patience Mudicha is asking, is the automated services require free data access? Is the automated services require free data access? If not, then you are a rich country. She's laughing. If the services are 99% automated, everyone can afford to buy data. Then we have
I'm looking at these questions too.
Yeah, a last one there from Sbusiso, and Sbusiso is asking, does each government ministry operate their own IT infrastructure, then integrate using the X road? If so, which government agency is responsible for the X road?
We do not have a centralized government authority that is responsible for the entire framework. So we have 5 ministries who are entitled, who are responsible for their part of the work. There are 2 agencies also overseeing that. X-Road is, managed by the state IT agency. Sorry for the quick translation.
All right.
Should I address any of these questions that I see in Slido?
Before that, let's do this. Let's take audience in the room, and then we'll come back to Slido if we still have time. We do have a few questions and the roving mics around. Let me start with you. Do you have your mic on? All right. I'm going to start with Ronette and get a contribution from here. Go ahead, Ronette.
Good afternoon, Petra. It is wonderful to see what you're doing in Estonia. It really is amazing to see what you've achieved so far. My questions is sort of a little bit around the journey that you've had. I'd like to know, how did this start? Like, what was your first step? A short timeline, perhaps, and then what were the major hurdles? What didn't work out well, and how did you resolve it? Because clearly in a 20, 30-year development, a few things you end up in a dead-end street. So I would be very interested in that. And then I cannot believe that you don't get hacked. What do you do? What do you do? That would be interesting. So if you could talk to those. Thanks.
Before you come back, let's take one more. I saw a gentleman here, very dying to ask a question to you. Go ahead, sir.
No, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for such an insightful presentation. I'm Isaiah Sihlangu. I'm with the Department of Science and Innovation in South Africa. I just quickly took a peek. I saw you are like about 1.3 million. And I'm very much aware about the setup of European countries. I want to understand how you were able to reach the village areas to onboard them into the online platform. That's number one. Number two, we have something similar as well in South Africa. We have what is called the State Information Agency as well. That sort of like does similar, it's just I haven't gotten to the stage where you are way ahead of us. Now, in terms of the cost implication, you mentioned early on that initially when you started, you didn't have money, and then you probably gave it to the private sector to do it. Now, who then who bears the responsibilities to safeguard the 1.3 million data for your citizens? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Over to you, Petra.
Wow. Thank God I wrote some of them down. Okay, so the first question was about the journey, if I remember correctly. So what we started from a legal framework, and from kind of educating people about what's coming. Not that our politicians or decision makers at the time actually knew what was coming. We had no idea where we're going to go in 30 years' time. It's just that the constant feedback loop and the public-private academia partnership that allowed us to continue pivoting maybe at some point and just improving services as they were developed. So the legal framework and education, we continue training our people because we haven't been hacked, you say. We continue to be bombarded by hackers, and security is a major issue, but because of how we built this framework, because of its decentralization, because of our unique electronic identification that has never been hacked, and continuous training of Cyber Command and people who want to contribute to cybersecurity in Estonia on a volunteer basis. That's a thing in Estonia. We've been able to provide a very good level of cybersecurity that actually Estonia is very highly recognized for. We were victims of the first, I guess, historical attack against a nation. It was a DDoS attack in 2007. We have a lovely neighbor to the east, and they didn't like us removing a second World War memorial. So, I mean, not removing, but actually just putting into a better place. So we received a massive DDoS attack, and our systems were down for several hours, but nothing was stolen. The way things get stolen in Estonia is through social engineering. Our ID card is very safe. Our X-Road provides great level of security. We have this KSI blockchain and timestamping, and everything works wonderfully. But the moment I open that phishing email and click on that link, my work computer is going to be invisibly hacked, and my entire business network can be affected. These things happen in Estonia, so we continue educating our public. This battle will never end. We are not born with a special gene of somehow being right away, knowing right away what to click and what not to click. At work, for example, there are cyber hygiene courses that we have to regularly take. So these issues are addressed at school level, at work level, and we have websites addressing these issues. And we keep talking about this as a society. Because you can have a very safe system, but if you click on the wrong email, they're going to get you. If I may address the second question.
Go ahead, Petra.
Or the bundle. So how we, the villages, how we got them on board. I don't know how we would have provided services to remote villages if we hadn't gone digital, because it's physically impossible to provide services to very remote areas, even in a country this small. You're obviously, South Africa is way bigger, unimaginably bigger for me, a small Estonian. So, but the issue is sort of similar. It is easier for people to log on or log in than to physically go tens or hundreds of kilometers to the nearest office. Now, how we got this internet coverage, right? So yes, most Estonians these days can buy or afford a smartphone. I, for example, have a Chinese one. It cost me 200 euro, and that was 7 years ago. It's still working. You don't have to have a lot of money, but everything is relative. I understand. So we can afford phones and we can afford computers right now, but there's no use to them if there's no internet coverage. And the way we did that, it's a very clever way. The Estonian government has managed to improve a lot of things in our society. You know, when the Scandinavians started seeing the Baltics, of which we're technically a part of, and Estonia, as a potential market, then they wanted to come and do business here. The telcos from Scandinavia, from Sweden, Norway, and Denmark, and so on, they wanted to make money. And we said, yes, of course, come, sell us phones, sell us your services. One condition: we need internet everywhere. So it was kind of like a bundle deal. And now we have internet everywhere because we pay a lot for the internet. And I guess it's sort of evened out for the Scandinavian countries. So they are making money, we have connection.
Right. Thank you so much, Petra. You can clap for her. You can clap for her. Go ahead. There's a slide that you showed. I'm not sure who's responsible for your slide, but it had contact information. I think your contact information. I mean, some of us wouldn't mind to be 1.31 million people in your country. So if you're inviting us, we are happy to come and be there. So if you could share your details, that those that still have more questions to you and would like to interact and understand your country much better. How do they go about it?
You're absolutely welcome.
All right. Do you have your contact details? Were they shared on the screen? Who's responsible for that?
I have them, or yeah, I shared them, but I will make sure that you have access to them once I send my files and presentation to the organizers.
Thank you. Someone who's responsible for beaming the slide, maybe can in the meantime bring back that slide. It would be interesting, fascinating conversation to pick up with Petra. Petra, thank you so much for your time. We highly appreciate you, and you must have a wonderful day. Keep up the great work that you're doing there in Estonia. All right.
Thank you.
Please, a round of
applause. I hope you visit.